The Vortigaunts, taxonomic designation, Xenotherium subservilia, or subservient alien beast, formerly known as alien slaves or Zen slaves, and affectionately known as Vorts by their allies, are a sapient alien species found throughout the Half-Life series. Long before the Black Mesa incident, the Vortigaunts' homeworld was invaded by the Combine, forcing the survivors of the invasion to flee to Zen, only to be enslaved by the master of that dimension, a powerful being known as the Nihilant, and the last of its race. When the Black Mesa incident occurred, the Nihilant viewed the rift that opened as a chance to escape, and directed the Vortigaunts to invade Earth. Following the death of the Nihilant, the Vortigaunts have chosen to ally themselves with the human-led resistance in their bid to overthrow the Combine rule of Earth. In appearance, Vortigaunts are somewhat humanoid, with 2 legs and 2 arms and an additional third arm protruding from the chest. This extra limb is a feature also found in other bipedal, sapient species from Zen, including the alien grunt and the Nihilant. This similarity, along with other shared features such as red eyes and digitigrade legs, is strongly suggestive of a common ancestry with other intelligent Zen life forms. Apparently, this third arm is used for feeding, as both Vortigaunts and alien grunts are often seen bending over slain victims, feeding on them. However, Vortigaunts are also shown able to use their green energy through this third arm in Half-Life Alyx. They are capable of using their arms to run like a quadruped to cover large distances, but prefer walking as a biped. Vortigaunts have mottled green-brown skin, sharp teeth, and clawed hands. Vortigaunts have a slightly hunched posture, and their faces are dominated by a large eye with a maroon sclera and a heterochromic red-yellow iris with a yellow pupil surrounded by 3 smaller eyes. However, in the original game, their model depicts a large red eye surrounded by 5 smaller ones instead of the 3 surrounding eyes depicted from Half-Life 2 onward. In Half-Life Alyx, Vortigaunts appear slightly different. Instead of the hands ending in 2 digits, an opposable thumb can now be seen on each hand. Their feet, while previously ending in a single hoof-like claw, now take on a more avian or ancient equine appearance with 3 clawed digits. Another interesting feature of the Vortigaunts is that they can speak English fluently, albeit with a strange accent similar to African and some sort of speech impediment when using S's and O's. Vortigaunts are very intelligent and social creatures. Throughout the Half-Life series, they can be seen in pairs or groups and are capable of developing intelligent strategies. When faced with a superior enemy, Vortigaunts will often retreat and if possible group together with other Vortigaunts to form a stronger force. Brief glimpses into the Vortigaunt culture can be gained by occasional speeches given by them in Half-Life 2 and in scenes during the original Half-Life. In the original game, Vortigaunts were enslaved by the Nihilant and used as workers and drone soldiers. Based on comments by the all-knowing Vortigaunt, it seems that the species has endured slavery for many generations. We have endured these chafing bonds for eons, yet a single moment of further servitude seems intolerable. As he says, an enforced servitude appears to have formed the bedrock of Vortigaunt history and culture up to the events of the first Half-Life. In Half-Life 2, Vortigaunts make occasional references to their species' culture. Vortigaunts possess their own native form of communication, which they refer to as flux shifting. It appears to involve a language with auditory components like human language, as well as a sensory component exclusive to the Vortigaunts. Flux shifting cannot be understood by those whose vortal inputs are impaired, such as humans. In the original game, the Vortigaunts seem to utter a phrase that sounds like Ertala Tag. There does not seem to be a canonically defined meaning or spelling to this phrase, but when the Vortigaunts show up, they seem to say it almost constantly. After the Combine occupation of Earth and joining the Resistance, Vortigaunts have also learned to speak at least one human language, which, in the English language version of the game, is predictably English. In some international versions of Half-Life 2, Vortigaunts speak the appropriate language for the country of the game's release. However, when speaking English, Vortigaunts use archaic words and syntax, tending to use outdated, even Shakespearean phrases. Vortigaunts believe in a binding life force, which they have termed in human language as the Vortessence. It is described as the fabric of the universe made up of vortal cords, by which everything is woven and connected. This unknown force is an integral aspect of Vortigaunt culture, which affect every aspect of their life, including powers. Vortigaunts are able to use the Vortessence to generate electricity and perform telekinesis. Temporal and spatial awareness. Vortigaunts see space and time are nothing more than false veils that divide the Vortessence. Consequently, they appear to be able to see all events transpiring regardless of the time or place of occurrence, though they are still able to make temporal and spatial distinctions of events. Telepathy. Vortigaunts share a telepathic link through the Vortessence, by which they are able to relay information to each other with minimal use of auditory language and through great distances. Death. Vortigaunts do not fear death, as they view death as a mere oscillation, indicating they are able to reincarnate or preserve their consciousness within the Vortessence. This connection to the Vortessence is facilitated by a part of their brain, as Gary, a Vortigaunt with a brain injury, is unable to connect to the shared mind of his fellow Vortigaunts.
So, what's a Vortigaunt doing here?
Cooking.
Right, but I mean in general.
I have a brain injury.
Oh, I'm sorry
My
to...
brain is injured.
That's terrible,
Ow.
and I hope...
Consequently, a Vortigaunt cut off from the Vortessence will feel severe isolation due to being cut off from their species' shared mind as well, and have difficulty distinguishing between past, present, and future events.
I am severed from the Vortessence. I am alone in my head.
Vortigaunts can enhance their connection to the Vortessence using the extract of antlion larvae, whose species they had farmed in the past for this reason. When altered by this substance, Vortigaunts are able to amplify their usage of the Vortessence and transcend space and time. This was first shown when they rescue Alex Vance, who was trapped within frozen time, from the explosion of the Citadel's dark fusion reactor. In this state, they are also able to interact with other transcendent beings, such as the G-Man, and move other entities across space-time, such as Alex Vance and Gordon Freeman. Another ritual they are able to perform in this state is the regeneration of organic tissue. This was done to rescue Alex Vance from the brink of death after a hunter attacked her. The Vortigaunts healed her by weaving Gordon Freeman's life with hers, though it is not clear what this entails. Even in this empowered state, these feats require multiple Vortigaunts to pull off. The Combine is aware of this aspect of the Vortigaunts' abilities, as they used captured Vortigaunts and forced them to sing in order to power the vault that contained G-Man. In Half-Life, Vortigaunts are common enemies in both Black Mesa and Zen. While they usually attack aggressively, they often become timid when injured, preferring to run away rather than risk further combat and possible death. However, if the player turns their back against them, there's a high chance they become aggressive. There is one area in Sen that houses a small number of peaceful Vortigaunts. However, if one is attacked, they will become aggressive. Vortigaunts have two modes of attack: an energy attack in which they fire powerful green lightning-like energy arcs that require a vulnerable period of charging up before being unleashed, and when close to opponents, a rapid and powerful claw attack. Significantly, in Half-Life, all of the Vortigaunts wear green collars and wristbands. Later events reveal these to be a means by which they are enslaved and controlled by a remote master, the Nihilant. Vortigaunts often act as support for alien grunts, making the Vortigaunts more likely to be able to use their attack, as the player is usually concentrating on killing the tougher grunts. Throughout the game, the Vortigaunts can be heard taunting the player with what sounds like the word die, and shouting a word that could be perceived as Gordon when the player approaches. Vortigaunts have the ability to use healing showers on Zen. When attacked in their passive state, they may run to a healing shower and heal up before engaging in a fight. In Half-Life 2, their electrical attack is far more devastating, as it tends to kill whatever it hits immediately and knocks the target back a considerable distance. Only objects with significant mass can resist being knocked back, such as the Strider, which appears to be fully immune to the arc, and antlion guards. These attacks occur twice during the single-player game, when Gordon's view is restricted by rubble, and when the Vortigaunt extracts bug bait from the antlion guard. It is also suggested that Vortigaunts can siphon an opponent's life force with their energy arc attack, as they are heard saying phrases like,
"Give over your essence!"
or
"Empower us! Its energy empowers us!"
during some of their attacks in Half-Life 2. In the Half-Life expansion Decay, the player plays as a Vortigaunt in a bonus mission, and the arc attack does indeed steal life force from enemies. The arc attack is revealed fully in Episode 2, where a group of Vortigaunts use it to defend an underground outpost from a massive antlion attack. It is shown to be powerful enough to kill antlions and zombies, causing a shockwave strong enough to knock over other nearby foes. Freeman's Vortigaunt companion uses this ability to aid him in his attempt to raid an antlion nest and extract the larva egg to heal Alex. The Vortigaunts can now recharge Freeman's HEV suit. If he stands near them, the Vortigaunts in Half-Life 2 can recharge HEV suit to 30% power with their blue electrical arcs. In Episode 2, the Vortigaunt can recharge the suit to 15%, and they use small green balls. This also applies for Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, but instead of giving 15%, they give 30%. Vortigaunts first appear in the chapter Anomalous Materials during the Resonance Cascade. Several Vortigaunts teleport in from the ceiling of the test chamber, disappearing as they near the floor. One will remain if the crystal is removed from the anti-mass spectrometer. A few moments later, when Gordon Freeman is briefly teleported to Zen, he appears in a dark room with 4 Vortigaunts standing in a half circle around him. However, they do not attack him. Later on, in unforeseen consequences, they can be found as standard enemies, and remain so for the rest of the game. In Half-Life 2, Gordon Freeman meets up with the Vortigaunts again. This time, however, they are eager to assist in overthrowing the Combine. In the time between the two games, the Vortigaunts have been freed from their former master, and most remaining on Earth have joined the human resistance against the Combine. The game also reveals that the Vortigaunts are capable of using their electrical attack productively in the form of a blue energy stream that can recharge batteries, power electronic circuits, fuse objects together, and even power up Gordon's HEV suit. The Vortigaunts credit Gordon Freeman with their freedom and hold him in almost religious esteem as the free man, as it was Freeman who terminated the Nihilanthe and freed the Vortigaunts. However, not all Vortigaunts have been freed. In the first chapter of Half-Life 2, Point Insertion, it is possible to catch a brief glimpse of a Vortigaunt working under the Combine. Wearing a collar and armbands similar to those worn in Half-Life, the Vortigaunt is shown slowly and meticulously using a push broom to sweep dirt and garbage in the City 17 train station while being watched by a Metro cop. When exploring Nova Prospect, the player comes across a dead Vortigaunt, wearing collar and armbands, sitting in a restraining chair. Interestingly, this occurs in Block A7, about which Overwatch had directed shortly before. Deservice all political conscripts in Block A7, prohibit external contact. It appears that the Vortigaunt had died during electrical torture by the Combine, which would explain Alex Vance's comments that the Resistance's only knowledge of Nova Prospect is through telepathic communications from Vortigaunts taken there for torture or interrogation. In the beginning of Half-Life 2, Episode 1, a group of Vortigaunts free Gordon from the G-Man and save Alex from certain death after the explosion of the Citadel's dark fusion reactor, teleporting both of them to the relative safety of the center of City 17, just outside the Citadel, revealing the Vortigaunts may be more powerful than previously speculated, even to the point of challenging the G-Man. Vortigaunts play a much larger role in Half-Life 2, Episode 2. After a hunter mortally wounds Alex and traps Freeman under a collapsed building, a Vortigaunt saves Alex from being eaten by an antlion. The Vortigaunt then stabilizes Alex's condition, frees Gordon, and carries her to an underground resistance outpost, where, with the help of 3 more Vortigaunts, they beat back a heavy antlion incursion. A Vortigaunt then accompanies Freeman on a quest to harvest the miraculous larval extract of the antlions to save Alex's life. The Vortigaunt proves a valuable companion. He kickstarts generators by giving them an electric jolt. His lightning attack damages and knocks over nearby antlions, and he also charges up Freeman's HEV suit on occasion. Eventually, Freeman is able to access the Nectarium, where the Vortigaunt harvests a small quantity of the larval extract. Both Gordon and the Vortigaunt travel back to the outpost and begin a ritual to heal Alex. It is at this point the G-Man re-establishes contact with Freeman.
I realize this moment may not be the most convenient for a heart-to-heart, but I had to wait until your friends were otherwise occupied.
Suggesting up until then, the Vortigaunts had somehow been keeping the G-Man at bay. He also refers to Half-Life when he says,
There was a time they cared nothing for Miss Vance, when their only experience of humanity was a crowbar coming at them down a steel corridor.
The Vortigaunts are unaware of the intrusion, and they never mention the G-Man, nor the service they rendered Freeman and Alex at the beginning of episode 1. The Vortigaunt then accompanies Freeman and Alex a little further on before heading back, mentioning that he and his cohorts are occupied with searching for Combine advisor pods. Another Vortigaunt, given the name Uriah by Erna Magnuson, aids Freeman briefly later on in the episode at White Forest. For gameplay purposes, if Gordon strays too far from Alex during the course of episode 2 to some specific places where she cannot reach, the screen briefly shows the text: the Freeman must proceed with the Alex Vance, else our struggle is doomed to failure. Those who do not learn from their mistakes are doomed to an endless Vortal loop. Then, the game reloads, referencing that those who continue to leave Alex will keep reloading the game. While navigating the quarantine zone, Alex Vance discovers graffiti depicting Gordon Freeman's defeat of the Neolanth and liberation of the Vortigaunts. This leads her to a bizarre shelter inhabited by an eccentric Vortigaunt named Gary, who explains he has brain damage and lacks some of his full abilities. When Alex explains she is trying to rescue her father, Gary tells her Eli Vance will die, much to Alex's horror, only to then correct himself upon realizing he is referring to a future event.
You will not save him. He is dead.
What?
Or he will be.
Is or will be?
It is a matter of perspective.
He then offers his assistance however he can, telling Alex to follow the Northern Star to rescue his kin, which Alex reluctantly agrees to. He then provides her sustenance for the trip, a head crab he was previously shown cooking. Gary later arrives at the last second, when Eli nearly falls to his death while Alex is trying to rescue him, narrowly saving him and pledging to escort him to safety. Alex soon discovers that the Vault, a massive Combine prison ship, uses energy harvested from trapped Vortigaunts to imprison whatever it contains. She frees one of the Vortigaunts at one of these power stations at the Northern Star Hotel. He gratefully thanks her and pledges to assist by freeing his kin at the other substations. The ultimate reason for the Combine's use of trapped Vortigaunts to power the Vault is soon revealed. The Vault is a prison designed to contain the G-Man, with Vortigaunt energy being the only means to capture him. The Vortigaunts in Half-Life Alyx curiously display a degree of telekinetic powers not observed in the other games. It is possible that these powers were suppressed by the Neolanth in Half-Life and by the Combine in Half-Life 2. It may also simply be a retcon on Valve's behalf, as a means to make the Vortigaunts more interesting and potent as allied characters. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I hope you enjoyed this video on Half-Life and the Vortigaunts lore. Shout out to my subs, and hope to see you in the next video.